The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Welcome to your Health and Wellness Hour, sponsored by Luminosity Wellness Center here in Las Vegas, coming to you from the studios of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting. Our goal is to incite and ignite all your senses and curiosities. So sit back, relax, open your mind and your heart, and enjoy the show.
Hi, welcome to the Luminosity Health and Wellness Hour. And today our guest is Anne Bordelot.
Yes.
And Anne is a spiritual energy chef. And so just quickly, what is a spiritual energy chef? And then we'll talk a little bit about how you got into that. But what is that?
Great. Thank you so much, Shay.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here today. So a spiritual energy chef is kind of like the name that I created for myself. It has nothing to do with physical food. It's more all about the mental, emotional, and the spiritual foods that we feed each other that we feed ourselves. Because, just like a recipe, it's like there's all different kinds of ingredients in that recipe. And, what a chef does is either creates that recipe for, what it is that you want, or they can look at a recipe and maybe want to change it up. Like maybe, old grandma's old recipes that have, where everybody's so health conscious now that how do you want to change it up and make it more healthy? So being able to exchange some of those ingredients for things that are going to work now for your particular life. So that's where the whole chef piece comes in.
So do you have people mistaken when you say that and think that you sell food?
I do all the time. I actually had somebody from one of the networking groups that sent me like this urgent text message, and she's like, "I think I have a gig lined up for you, and they need this and this," and I had to write back, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, but I don't do the food."
I know, because when I first met you and I heard that, the first thing I'm thinking is, "Oh, she's cooking." You
Yeah.
know? So I thought, well, that would be kind of cool to bring you on, and you can cook some stuff up for us. And I'm like, oh no, that's not even anything like that. So, well, and one of the things that I like to start out with, I like to find out what got you on your journey of where you are in the spiritual, on the spiritual journey. So, how did you get here?
That's a good question, and so my spiritual journey actually started when I was very young. There was a lot of different things that happened to me as a child. So I was always kind of like the different one in the family. Mm-hmm. And I spent, a lot of time by myself, and I would hear a lot of stuff. And then as I got older.
When you say hear,
like people would say, like, I'm hearing voices kind of thing,
oh, okay.
or I would like just know things, or I would have like conversations,
okay.
And I was thinking that I was having a conversation with another person, but what I realize now, that conversation is actually with their higher self.
Wow, at such a young age, you knew that. It was connected there.
Exactly. So that was kind of odd. And then when I was about maybe 11 or 12 years old, the Amityville Horror came out, and so if there's a lot of people that especially millennials that are not familiar with that. So just a brief what that is. There's it's based on a true story, and it's a house in Amityville, New York, that was one of like the most haunted places.
Yeah, and it was not good.
It was not good. It was not
terrible
good.
Feeling it left you when you watched the movie. So,
Exactly. And so that book came out. I was an avid reader at that time. I read the book. My aunt and uncle took us to see the movie. My sister and I, when we the movie came out, and a lot of stuff just like really resonated for me, because at that point I had already been having like these visions at night, and they were more than visions. They were actually visitations of like these lower yucky things that were calling, and they wanted me to denounce my faith, and that was not happening. So if
wow. And I bet that was scary
yeah,
to experience that.
it was
at
very
a young age.
exactly
Yeah.
very very scary. So if anything has been like the constant and being consistent for me, that's my strong faith. So I kind of like shut down after that because I'm like, this is too much. I don't want to have to deal with all of the scary stuff. But I still had that knowing, and so through high school and through my work life, I've always been like the go-to person because people knew that I would listen and they respected what I had to say, and they would say something to me or ask my opinion, and I would be like, okay, you need to do this, this, and this, or I would tell them what I thought,
And you just knew that.
I just
no
knew
preparation or anything. You just had it come to you.
exactly.
So you were already really connected to your higher self, even though you shut it down.
Yeah,
You still had that connection there. And was
exactly.
able to pull that information.
Yeah, and still very much very intuitive in terms of like, no, I really shouldn't do this, and I need to go this way. But nothing really like came full circle until I was working in California, and one of the women that I worked with was taking a Reiki class, and it somehow it resonated with me, and I wanted to find out more. But at that time, the company was going through a reorganization, and she actually got laid off before I was actually able to have a conversation with her.
Wow.
So then it was, like fast forward, like 7 years later, I'm now divorced and I'm back in New Hampshire, and one of my friends calls and says, hey, the local holistic center is having a Reiki preview tonight, and it's free. Do you want to go? I'm
You're like, hey,
yeah,
why
sure.
not?
I didn't have anything planned. As soon as I walked over the threshold of this wellness center, my hands were like on fire.
Oh, wow.
And everything that the presentation that this Reiki master did it just totally resonated with me. So she was actually having a sort of Reiki 1 certification class coming up. I signed up for it, and from there, everything just kind of like exploded.
And can I ask you really quick before
yeah,
we go on there?
Sure.
The Reiki, what exactly is Reiki? Because I know we do have some listeners who may not be familiar with Reiki.
Okay.
So, and I know you say your hands warm up, so can you just give us a brief
definitely.
overview of what Reiki is? And then
sure.
we'll continue on your story.
Okay, yeah, I would love to. So Reiki is it's the universal life force energy. And so basically what you're doing is when you have your attunements, you're able now to harness the universal energy, and it comes down through your crown chakra, down through your heart, through your hands or through your arms and through your hands, and then that energy is going to go into whoever it is that you're working on. And so you're really not using your own energy. You're just the straw or the conduit that allows that energy to come through. And it's whoever you're working on, it's their body that takes that energy and goes to wherever it needs for its highest healing good. So somebody may have a pain in their shoulder, but they may have something going on in their kidney. And so the kidney is probably going to be the greatest or the highest good. And so the energy will flow through the shoulder if you have your hands there, but it's really going to go through
To the
kidney
area that it
first.
needs. Yeah. So
Yeah.
can you feel, like when somebody has something in there going on in their body, can you feel that through your hands? Where they may need things?
I can. So everybody has their different clairs, so to speak, that resonates with them. So my most prominent one is feeling. So when I'm working on somebody, I feel on me what's going on with them.
Wow.
And then just like being able to take your hand and like scan their body, like hover over and kind of like scan their body, you'll be able to feel the
energy pulling through.
exactly.
Oh, wow.
And you'll be able to you'll feel that energy coming up in different areas, and you'll know what it is to clear as well.
Right. Well, great. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to sidetrack.
Oh
you, 'cause I like
no, that's great. That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to be a Reiki volunteer at one of the hospitals back in New Hampshire, and so there's so many people that have not heard of Reiki, then they don't know what it is. So it's good to clarify,
Yeah.
and so I had to bring it down even more to like layman's terms for them, and so I would always say, Reiki is it's like massage, because everybody at that now knows about massage.
Right.
Only you get to keep your clothes on. And I'm just going to put my hands either on your shoulders, or if they were lying in a hospital bed, maybe a hand on your shoulder and a knee, or if you're sitting down, maybe on your knees. And it's just going to be that nice, peaceful flow of energy. You may get relaxed, and if you fall asleep, that's great. But a lot of people, for them, they start talking as well. And so that was always good, because that was their way of releasing that energy.
That's great. And
So-
I love that you told the audience about that. I'm actually going Saturday for my level 2 certification.
Oh,
of Reiki.
congratulations.
So yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
excited, because then I'll be able to start offering that service as well. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think it's really great. So
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
so anyway, where do we go from there then?
So I did take the, like I said, I took the Reiki class, the first one, and from there everything just kind of exploded. I was, I had gone all out. I bought the massage table and everything, and I'm at my parents' house, and I'm practicing on them, and my dad's laying on the table, and I'm just kind of like, hovering over, doing some work, and all of a sudden I see standing in front of me his friend Joe, that they had been, best friends, but Joe had passed.
He was passed. Oh, my
And I was
goodness.
like, oh my goodness. But I saw him so very clearly. He had
oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps.
yeah, the white shirt and the tan suit, and when he and my dad were together and they'd go on trips or golfing or whatever, they were like school kids, schoolboys, like always laughing and having a good time. So I'm watching Joe as he's kind of like leaning over my father, and he's like, saying things, trying to like get him to laugh. But the funny thing is that as afraid as I was when I was a kid, this was different.
Yeah.
So it was a much more comfortable experience, made me more curious, and I'm like, okay, I need to know what's going on. So I did go back to the Reiki master that I had studied with, and unfortunately, that was not her area of expertise. So I went to meetup.com. Which,
Oh, wow.
meetup.com, anything, anywhere.
Yeah, you can find Ann Meeting on that.
Yeah, anywhere
Anything.
anywhere in the world you want a different activity, just go to meetup.com. And so I did find a Reiki share that was actually facilitated by 2 mediums. And so I learned so much from them in terms of like reading, and then just about Reiki in itself. And then so I progressed along and became a Reiki master teacher myself.
So can I ask you really
Yeah.
quick, when Joe
Yeah,
was
Joe.
there,
Yeah.
was your father aware that he was there, or did
No,
you mention anything to him?
I told
or
him
you're
after.
like, yeah.
I told him after, because just before my dad got off the table, he's like giggling like a schoolgirl. I'm like, oh my gosh! I'm like,
So Joe got him to laugh.
yeah. I'm like, who are you? My dad doesn't laugh like this.
Oh, how funny.
But yeah, and so I did tell him. My parents, they're like super supportive of whatever I do, but still, there's that level of it's just over their head. They don't want to
Yeah.
embrace all of that. So my dad just kind of said, well, next time you see Joe, tell him I said hi. And I'm like, you could tell him yourself.
right
He was
there,
right there.
how fun would that be, though? I mean, God,
Yeah.
to be able to tell your dad, I saw your best friend.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know? But did
Yeah.
you get any of the, like, I don't want to know kind of stuff? I mean, was he open to receiving that information?
Oh yeah,
or-
yeah. He was okay
Okay.
with it. He doesn't. My dad had also had like some knee surgery and stuff, so I would just kind of like sit next, and as I was like in the rehab or in the hospital visiting him, and I would just be like beaming Reiki at him, and he's like, he goes, I don't know what you're doing, but if it makes you feel any better, go ahead, go ahead and do it.
I'm doing it for you, Dad.
Well, but the funny thing is, and there's a lot of studies now with Reiki being in hospitals and so forth, in terms of how it actually impacts the healing process for
Yeah.
people. So patients, especially if they're going into surgery, if they've had any kind of Reiki before their operation, and then during, if possible, because Dr. Oz always has his wife is a Reiki master, and so he always has like a Reiki practitioner on staff in the
Oh,
operating
wow.
room with him.
Wow.
So they're getting Reiki
Wow.
while he's operating, and then definitely at the end. And so the studies have found that the people that do get the energy work have reduced needs for medications,
wow.
and the healing process is a lot
Wow,
shorter.
That's amazing.
And that was one of the things that my dad's doctors had talked about. Was they're like, we don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it, because you, in terms of like everybody else that's in your same age group that has had this major knee surgery done, it's like you are progressing, at a faster pace in terms of the
based
rehab.
on the healing that you were just sending him. And the person you're sending the energy to, they don't even have to approve of it, right? I mean, as long as you send it, it's going to help regardless of whether they think it's going to work or not, or want it or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it always helps if they're open to that,
Right.
because then they're more receptive and they'll get more energy. But yes, that's definitely a difference between the Reiki and that versus the energy clearing that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Because from the Reiki, I kind of like have progressed to different modalities. So now.
So let's go on, talk about some of
Yeah.
what you do now.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
what I do now, this is with all love, is it's basically Reiki on steroids, because I've gone through the Melchizedek method, all 5 levels, and I can actually teach those classes, and so that's like 5th dimensional holographic healing. So that really gets into a lot more in depth in terms of like the body computer. And
Wow.
being able to pull the body apart and actually get down to a granular level that you're looking at a dot on the strand of somebody's DNA in order to be able to remove that dysfunctional energy from the seed.
So how does that work? I mean, if somebody were to come to you for
Mm-hmm.
that process, what does that look like? What would you do?
For that, because so the difference between Reiki and energy clearing is Reiki, you can give energy, you're giving energy to somebody else, and again, you're just the straw, you're just the conduit for that. With clearing, I'm pulling it out. So I have to have their permission. Not only do I have to have the client's permission, but I have to have my spiritual team of guides. I need to have their permission as well.
Wow. And so
because-
do you seek that before your client comes, or do you seek that while your client is there for the permission?
I seek the permission from my team prior to even confirming the appointment.
Okay.
Because with the energy clearing, it's like, everybody talks about peeling the onion. And so it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so I always have like a little consultation with the person that wants the energy clearing to make sure that they're ready for that, because it is going to go down to like, very deep level, mental, emotional.
Yeah.
I mean, we're clearing out dysfunctional energy from the root. And so if you look at like the root, like in the garden, and like a weed, if you just pull the top of that weed, that root base is still there, and then that weed, the flowering pieces of it are going to grow back even more, and it's going to be that much stronger. And so with the energy clearing, it's the same thing. If I'm removing from the root, then I need to make sure that that person is ready, willing, and able to continue to do the work, that make the life shifts that are necessary to keep that going in a positive direction. Because if they're just going to say they want part of that energy clearing was to be disconnected from a toxic person, and maybe a couple weeks goes by, and at the 3rd week they have a weak moment, and now they're reconnecting with that person. Well, that energy is coming back, and not only is it coming back, but now it's coming back tenfold.
Oh, wow.
So that's a huge responsibility on my part to make sure that the people that want the energy clearing are going to be serious about the work, and they're going to want to do what's necessary. Now, the nice thing about it is that even after just one energy clearing session, the person already feels like a huge difference.
They can feel like lighter.
Exactly.
The burdens are lifting.
Exactly. They might have, a little bit of brain fog, and because we've done a lot of work on a cellular level, then their whole energy field is going to have to recalibrate, and that may take 2 or 3 days. But in essence, it's like I have never had a client that has not walked out of my office or out of my space without feeling that sense of freedom, that clarity, and that focus.
Wow.
And, just that kind of, everybody's looking for that oomph. All right, well, where am I going to get that from in order to be able to go and take that next step? And you don't have to have all of your steps lined out in front of you, but just know that, okay, I'm just looking at that next step.
So when someone comes to see you, then you're asking questions and trying to get to the root.
Definitely.
That's how you know how to get there.
Yeah.
And then how do you know, or what do you see, or how do you see what you're pulling out? How do you know what you're pulling out?
Yeah, so the session is definitely conversational. I always give, I send an email confirmation up front and give them instructions.
Okay.
Because the energy, no matter what kind of energy it is, it has an intelligence. Mm-hmm. And so when that dysfunctional energy knows that it's going,
yes,
it's gonna fight tooth and nail to stay.
Yes.
So I always let them know, be cautious of, or be aware of, if you have any nausea, if you have any type of, lightheadedness or cold and flu symptoms, on your way to the appointment, if you are running into any traffic or being blocked, that's fine, because that's all part of that energy. Also, if people have significant others or families, then that energy is going to now bring them into the loop because of the close energetic ties that you have with them. And so they're going to use them because they know that, if your child is sick, well, you can skip that appointment, but you're not going to skip helping your child.
Right.
And so they're going to use any method necessary to stop you from coming to and getting to that appointment. So I like to give that warning, or that upfront, to be aware of that. And then when I also ask them to set an intention of something that, has been on their mind, where they kind of like feel stuck, and what it is that they're ready to release. Mm-hmm. And then so when they come in, I've created sacred space. So it's almost like they're walking into this very comfortable, almost womb-like experience. And the sacred space is, it's all done energetically, but still, because people are opening up and they're being very vulnerable. They tell me things that they've never told anybody else in their life.
Yeah.
And so, I am very humbled by that, and I take that role very seriously. And so we have like a bit of a conversation, and then I just start going. My fingers will start moving. And so for me, when I'm kind of more about the numbers. And so if you've ever seen The Matrix, and you've seen like the those streams of green numbers,
yes.
that's what kind of like looks like for me. And so it's kind of like programming your energy field, and programming and getting down to whatever that issue is, or that energy that's ready to be released at that time.
And so when you're going through that process with your client, do you say what you see and release it for them, so the client knows what's going on at the same time? So
sometimes I do. There's some information, again, it's like my guides will tell me what information I'm supposed to give them and what not, because sometimes if the person is not necessarily like in the spiritual world,
right, they may not be receiving or receptive to
exactly,
some of the things
and so they may not be understanding what's going on, and I don't want that to cause a block. Right. And now put up like kind of a wall of resistance. So I do tell them, what I'm guided to tell them, in terms of like, especially because I feel if the energy is moving on them, because that energy is going to like shift and change within the body. So if I feel it moving, then I'll say, okay, well, just as for instance, I had a client earlier this week that I could feel the energy moving in her stomach area and in her throat. Wow. And so that's for me, I immediately got, because I relate to the chakras, the confidence area, which is the solar plexus, and the throat chakra, which is the speaking your truth and getting your voice out there. So I told her, I'm like, I can feel the energy moving. And so she validated that for me. She's like, yes, I can feel that moving. And then I was also asked to clear out the energy meridians. And so what the energy meridians are, if you've ever seen like any pictures of like the like human anatomy, like in a medical journal or something, there's like maybe some red lines throughout the body or blue lines, and so those are the meridians. So it was just being able to clear out some of the energetic blockages along those meridians, and so I'm like kind of like
Just
waving,
sweeping it through,
exactly. And so she was able to feel that. She could feel the energy as it was being released from her feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you find that a lot of people today, because a lot of people in the world, a lot of stress going on out there,
Oh yeah.
people probably have a lot of blockages, all of us, because we all live in this world today, and
Oh yeah.
there is a lot of that out there. So
Definitely. And one of the things that the main cause of these blockages is fear. Fear of change. If I make this change, what are people going to think about me? So fear of everybody
Everything,
else in the
yeah.
environment, instead of taking that and kind of like flipping it and being able to rechannel that energy into something positive and be able to move forward.
yeah, and speaking of fear, and I don't want to
Yeah.
go down this rabbit hole,
Yeah.
but the media out there is trying to instill fear
Yeah.
in everybody. And so I always tell people when I'm talking to them, don't get caught up into that fear.
Exactly.
Because not only does it create what you're dealing with, but
Yeah.
there's other things. As a consciousness, we all are connected.
Yeah.
And so when we all are connected and we're all living in that fear state, then we're creating
Exactly.
that fearful environment, because we all are very powerful
Yeah.
beings and we're all creating.
Exactly.
So how do you bridge this spirituality in business nowadays? Because I'm sure you encounter a lot of that. I know I just retired from the corporate world,
Yeah.
and it was really hard for me to incorporate the spirituality in the business world.
Yeah.
I would drop little seeds and say little things, and then
Yeah.
the people who are kind of on that same wavelength would come up and talk to me after my classes and stuff. So I kind
Yeah.
of knew that.
Yeah.
But there's a big gap between that. But I see it shrinking too.
Yes.
But how do you bridge that?
Yeah, definitely. And so I do like a ton of networking, lots of different meetings and so forth. And I've definitely encountered that. It's like I'm usually like probably the only, energy practitioner in the room and so forth. And so I know that that's part of my calling, is to help bridge that awareness between, everyday life and, that energy, and just getting the word out there and how it can help. So what I normally do is, everybody has their own energy field, right? And in school, we're taught that it's like a hula hoop around you, hula hoop size. Or they may have not said your energy field, they may have said your personal space.
Right. It's like what you can sense when somebody's too close. You need to back up a little bit.
Exactly.
Because they're invading that personal space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that personal space, that's actually your calling card. And I'm sure that there's people that are watching from all over the U.S. and probably internationally as well. So this is probably a common phrase for most networkers everywhere. But everybody is all about, I only want to do business with people that I know, like, and trust. Wonderful.
Like, yeah, that'd be a great world.
Exactly. That, and that's wonderful. But there's got to be a step before that. What actually draws you to that person that to make you want
How do you
to
know that
like
you like that? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I like to use it as an example where, say I'm in need of some legal service and I have like 5 lawyers standing in front of me. I am naturally going to gravitate towards one or maybe 2 of them over the others. And why is that? It's because everybody has their own energetic vibration or their frequency. And so when it becomes a match with somebody else's, then that's an energy connection, and that's what resonates. And so that's what actually draws you in for that person. And then from there, then you can start the conversation,
Right.
and then start building that relationship and get to the know, like, and trust pieces of it. So it's very important that, if you're looking for, high caliber clients or consistent clients or repeat clients, people, that you want to be your clients, that are not going to be like constantly shopping or maybe, constantly asking for discounts for things, then you need to raise your
energy and put a different energy out.
Exactly. And it has to be done on a personal level. And so if you're doing that on a personal level, now you're bringing that energy into your business. Mm-hmm. And you're also, because it's causing a ripple effect within your immediate circle, you're affecting not only your family, your friends, but in the workplace, you're affecting your employees as well. Mm-hmm. And so imagine if you were a boss and you just had your energy cleared out, and now you're going in and there's one of your employees that all they do is complain. And it's like it's a chore just to get through the day, and now your energy now is spreading out through there, and watch how they shift and change.
Because your energy is affecting them.
Exactly.
And on that note, I want to say I do past life regression, right?
Yeah.
And so when I have people connected to their higher self, then we ask questions like, what is a purpose? That's probably the biggest question I get.
Yeah.
And it's amazing some of the information that they get back. But what I hear a lot of is your purpose here is just to connect.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything in some cases. They said if you're driving in your car and you're driving down the street, you affect everybody at that stoplight.
Exactly.
You affect everybody driving down the street, all the houses as you go down.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting to hear how our energy really works, and you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, that's the information that they get. So the energy is powerful.
Oh, it's
and people
huge.
don't realize how powerful it is.
Yeah, exactly. And, a lot of people are becoming more empathic, because the energy shifts have been going on for the last 2 or 3 years now that we've kind of like are going into the Aquarius age or the Aquarian age. And so being empathic, people are feeling things on a deeper level, and being impacted, and they're not quite sure what it is. Yeah. So an example that I use is, all right, say you're driving into work and you woke up and everything is going great. You get all of your favorite songs you've heard on the radio on the way in, and you're like, woohoo, I'm having a great day. And then you get into the office and you're at the coffee machine with one of your coworkers, and as much as you've had a good day, they've had not so good day. Mm-hmm. And so now you're kind of feeling like, oh, what's going on? I'm feeling a little icky. Well, it's because your energy fields are blending and so now you're taking on some of their stuff. And so it's a matter of, okay, well, all right, now I'm recognizing this, I'm aware of it, so now I'm going to step back a little bit to create that space in between, and now I'm going to give that energy, give that bad energy, I don't want to say bad, but that negative energy or whatever, I'm going to give it back.
Yeah.
But
you want to send yours to them too, don't you? Because
exactly.
You want to help raise their energy.
Exactly. So you always want to send it back with love and compassion. Yeah. Even if it's somebody that has like maybe cut you off in the morning, or oh my gosh, I can't think of the word right now. But even if it's something that riles you up and gets you angry, always send any energy out with love and compassion, because there is that karmic circle that goes around, and so it will come back around, trust me, and it will come back tenfold. So you really want to make sure that what you're getting back is going to be good.
Well, and along that line, as I'm learning about energy myself, right? When I was in the corporate world, I was traveling in Reno one time, and I have to have a receipt to account for everything to get reimbursed, right? So I'm at the fuel station, the receipt pops out, and there's nothing on it.
Oh, no.
So I'm like, oh, crap, now I got to go inside. The reason I use my credit card outside is so that I don't have to go inside.
Yeah.
And so now I got to go in. And all the way in there, I'm just telling myself, I am so mad. I'm going to go in there, and I'm just going to tell him how angry I am that I have to come in here. And then I thought, you know what? This is not the energy that I want to be putting out.
Exactly.
And when you put out that kind of energy, what do you get back?
Yeah.
You get back the same that you put out
Exactly.
in those cases, right? So
Yeah.
the whole way I'm walking in there, I'm just telling myself, just be calm when you get, just smile.
Yeah.
So I'm changing my energy before I even get in there.
Yeah.
So when I get in there, what I wanted to do was not what I actually did,
Yeah.
but the exchange was so much nicer.
Oh, yeah.
And I think had I gone in there and just kind of went off on them, what would I have done to their day?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I would have created a bad event for them. And you've seen those things on YouTube where you create a bad event and then you go home and you kick the cat and then, you know what I mean? I didn't want to create that domino effect of it. So I thought, okay, I'm going to change this.
Yeah.
So that's how energy is, affecting other people.
Oh,
Just
definitely.
by the way we exchange. And I thought, I'm going to stop that energy for myself.
Yeah.
But being aware of it is half the battle.
Oh,
and knowing
definitely.
when you have that kind of energy
Yeah.
to be able to change it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. Because you had mentioned earlier about the fear and about the media and so forth, and so I'm a firm believer that every thought that you think is that's creating your reality, because it is your reality. It's not everybody else's. It's yours.
Right.
And so if you're taking in all of that stuff, that negative stuff, that fear-based stuff, or that anxiety from the media, then yes, that's what you're going to end up putting out.
Yeah.
So I've pretty much almost altogether stopped watching the
watching
news.
TV, yeah.
Yeah.
I tell my husband all the time, babe, if there's something going on, you'll let me know, right? That
Yeah.
I need to know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't watch it either for that very same reason. And
Yeah.
I do have friends that I talk to once in a while, and they're always talking about Trump or, something political. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, I don't really even want to be a part of that conversation.
Yeah.
So, I always change it around, like, but look what he's doing out there. He's really waking a lot of people up.
Exactly.
And that's what we need.
Exactly.
Right now. We need people to wake up.
We do,
So-
and there is a lot of controversy about that, and there's even like some of the other people in the spiritual world are like really riled up, and so I kind of like I'm like, wait a minute, you need to kind of like step back a little bit and be in observer mode.
Yeah.
And understand what's happening, because there was a lot of stuff that was, the public really wasn't aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have divine intervention now that has brought him in as a vehicle in order to be able to open up everybody's eyes and be able to see what's going on.
Yeah.
So instead of sending him negativity, send him love
Loving
and compassion,
energy. Yeah.
and help him with the guidance that he's getting, because when you think about it, it's like, there's always that saying, don't shoot the messenger, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he's in essence the messenger. It's like the messages that are coming through, he's getting from the universe. And I'm not saying that he's channeling anything,
Right.
but he's doing what he was asked to do, or what his contract here on earth is to do. And so
And he's not consciously aware of it, I'm sure.
oh yeah.
And he may be. I don't know. We don't
Yeah.
know that. But and I didn't mean to take this down a
Oh, no.
political
No,
road,
no, but, yeah,
but
I-
it needs to be talked about too.
Definitely, because
Energy is huge.
yeah, and because there is definitely divine intervention in there, and so whether people want to embrace that or not, that's their own that's their own view. But I also think that they need to kind of like just open up a little bit and understand that there are
The bigger
definitely
picture.
there is a bigger picture. I mean, if you look at what's going on on an international basis as well, you'll see the patterns, and you'll see how everything just kind of like needs to shift and change.
Right.
So
Well, I want to know, where are you going in the future with
okay.
your practice, and what are you doing? So I don't mean to cut that off.
Oh no,
but,
no,
you
no!
know.
That's a good segue.
Yeah.
So I have recently been guided by Melchizedek. So in case people don't know about Melchizedek, I believe he's listed as one of the prophets in the Bibles. He's very, very ancient, older than Jesus and so forth, and so. Because I've studied with him, he has told me that it's time to go home to Sedona. So I'm expanding to Sedona. I will probably be living there in terms of like a full-time residence there, but I do have my existing relationships, business and client-wise and stuff here in Las Vegas. So I will be still commuting back and forth several times, or like at least a week every month here in Las Vegas as well.
Okay.
So, but the work that I do too can be done like virtually, like either
Okay.
through Skype or
Perfect.
Zoom or over the phone, because I've added a few more services, because not a lot of people are just going to jump right into the energy work.
Right.
Some people just kind of like want to dip their toe in.
So what is some of the other work that you do then?
Yeah,
Tell
so
us a little bit about.
I do. I created what is called a blind reading, and so that is geared towards the people that just maybe have a question, especially the ones that are awakening spiritually, and they kind of like, well, this is happening to me. Can you kind of explain,
Tell
or
me
do you
what's happening,
do you know what's going on?
Right.
So I have a blind reading that they can do, and that's pretty much done through email. And then I have a live reading, which is a 30-minute angel card reading, because I'm a certified angel card reader. And so for that, I'll just pull like 3 cards. Usually it's like past, present, and future. I also will talk about like life path, and then if guided, if there may be a spirit animal or something. And so if that's something that's done in person, then I'll record that, like maybe a voice memo on the phone, and then send them the link. Or if it's done via Skype or Zoom, then I'll record that, and then that way they have the
They
link
have
for that.
copy of always.
Exactly. So then this way here, people get to kind of like dip their toe in a little bit and get a feel for what the energy work is, and then be able to, if they're ready for the clearing, then we can go from there. And teaching the Reiki classes as well.
Right. So do you find that it's changing out there as far as the culture? Do you have more clients coming nowadays than you did before? And
Yeah, I think it's finally people are starting to become more aware that they need help. Traditional modern medicine
yeah,
is
let's talk about that for a second. So self-care and
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
with the self-care, because with the current state of healthcare as it is right now, self-care is definitely right there, first and foremost, and definitely needs to look at. And so some of the clients that I've worked with are the kind that go to the doctor because they have something that's going on with them. The doctors will run like tons of tests, and they can find nothing medically wrong with them.
right.
And it's not that the person is having like these psychosomatic symptoms. It's that it's happening on an energetic level.
And the doctors can't see that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I know myself, for 5 years, I was going to the doctor because every time I would walk, my legs would just hurt.
Yeah.
And then they hurt all day long, and I couldn't figure it out. I went to doctors, and of course they put you on Prozac, or they put you on I don't know, all these different medications, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I am not taking those drugs.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the first reasons why I started looking into alternative medicine.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be drugged up, first of all.
Yeah.
And then there's so many other things after I've been on this journey now that I find that's out there.
Exactly.
That a lot of the things we can't even get in our country.
Right.
Because we have those issues that we're contending with.
Yeah.
Currently my husband has lung cancer, but we're doing what we can naturally. He did chemo for a year.
Yeah.
And now we're looking into other alternatives, different vitamins and minerals and
Yeah.
our diets. Our diets are huge.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So as a health coach, you guide people on, how to eat properly or better, or, since you are a chef. No, I'm not a chef though.
Yeah, I can definitely help people and guide them in that direction. The actual food pieces of it, the physical food, I can help. It's not necessarily my focus is really the emotional and the mental and the spiritual, but I can definitely help them on the food pieces of it as well, because I'm going through my own journey. You know,
Right.
I've always been kind of like a little chubby or overweight since a kid, and so I've been on like I think every diet imaginable. You know, and because it really is, it's like trial and error. You know, and one thing that's going to work for you at one point may not work for you. You know, at
Yeah, years
another
later.
level.
Yeah.
So it's just being able to kind of like get over that hump. And I think the biggest piece of that, again, goes back to being self-care and looking at it from an energy perspective, because there's that energy, there's that seed there, that fear that is causing you to take in that food, or that, you know,
Right.
eat for comfort or eat for fear or anxiety. And so what is that? And let's get to the root of that to be able to really release that.
So when you have a recommendation, or what would you recommend to our listeners or viewers about how to take care of their own self-care? What would you recommend that they do first if they're experiencing going to the doctors and just getting drugs, you know?
Oh, yeah.
What would your recommendation be?
I would definitely recommend that they listen to their own intuition. And so I'm not saying that if a doctor prescribes medication,
Right.
don't take it.
Yeah,
But
no.
that because that has to be a personal choice. But, you know, don't be afraid to ask your doctor more questions. You know, what exactly is in this medication that you want me to take? What are the side effects?
Right.
Who determines what these side effects are? Who did the trials on these particular drugs? And one of the things that I've done with my own family doctor was I would push back every time because my whole family, my parents and everything, and everybody all went to that same doctor. So what she's looking at is a family history.
Which you may be
And
totally different.
I live my life complete, and I eat very differently than my family. So yes, it might be that, you know, I'm technically genetically disposed for certain things. I'm able to do things to prevent that. So both my mom and dad had high blood pressure, and my dad had high cholesterol, and so my doctor wanted me to put me on those medications. The high blood
Like,
pressure,
no.
yeah, the high blood pressure I had already been on for a while, but when she wanted me to start taking the statins, and I didn't have the high blood pressure, I mean the high cholesterol, but it was, she wanted me to take it because
To prevent
Prevent,
thinking that
yeah.
down the road you're going to get it.
exactly.
So-
Well, and also because one of the side effects was to help fight inflammation. And so even though they couldn't figure out what the inflammation was in my body, well, go ahead and try this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, tell me what I can do first on it naturally, or what recommendations do you have first, and then we'll use this as a last case scenario.
Yeah.
And so part of it was at least changing my diet.
Right.
And losing some weight, which at that point in time, I tried, but I was unsuccessful at that. So I kind of lost that battle, and I went on the statins, and I was not happy. I didn't feel good. It just,
Right.
the drugs just didn't make me feel right. And so as I progressed in the whole energy journey, you know, I came into contact with the oils, the essential oils. And so Young Living actually kind of like saved me from a lot of that stuff, because I was then able to get myself off of the medications. So
Yeah.
between doing the energy work and incorporating the oils, then it's been wonderful. And then recently I found New Earth, which is a whole, it's a plant-based supplement, and everything is organic, and the main ingredient is the micro blue-green algae. And that in itself, because the algae is what created this entire planet, everything. And so going back to that, having, you know, those basics. And so I've been doing like really well with those.
That's great. And I know we all need to be in charge of our own health care.
Exactly.
You know, and there is a place for going to the doctors, but at the same time, we need to take responsibility
Yeah.
for educating ourselves
Yeah.
on what we're putting into our bodies and why we're putting it in there, and ask those questions like you did.
Yeah.
You know, and do the research. And a lot of us get lazy,
Yeah.
and we don't want to do that. So we put all of our faith and trust into the medical world, the medical field, and
Yeah.
they do a lot of good for us, but
Yeah.
we shouldn't put everything in that one basket, because there's so many things that we can do on our own: eating,
Exactly.
Like you said, taking, supplements or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And if you look at the way that that medical schools are set up in terms of their teaching, it's like, the doctors get so much information in a short period of time, and their curriculum is so expansive that they can't cover everything. And so they do cover nutrition, but from the people that I've talked to that are in medical school, and also doctors that have been, practicing for years, it's like maybe a semester out of like years worth of training. So one of the things one of the reasons why I decided to be a health coach was because it is health coaches are more accepted, and actually Congress earlier this year has embraced that. So if you can find a good health coach, work with them, because they are definitely going to be your health advocates,
right,
and help you, because we're being inundated with so much information. Well, you need to do this. No, you need to do this. And it's like, well, what's right and what's wrong? And there are like standards for this in terms of like what your daily intake should be in terms of like maybe calories, or just how much protein versus how many grains, and all of that. And it just gets so overwhelming and so confusing. It's like, what? For me, I'm like, tell me what I need to do.
Right.
Hold
Make
my
it easy.
hold my hand a little bit. So give me an opportunity to succeed.
Yeah.
Don't set me up for failure up front by giving me all of this information. Help me succeed. So just give me a little bit every time. Give me little baby steps, and I can start from there. And so part of that is actually realizing that you need to take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
So I did put together a little mini training that I have. People can sign up and download it off of my website.
And where is your website? That was my next question.
Yep.
How would someone find you?
Yep.
And get a hold of you?
Okay, so my website is www.annbordeleau.com. So that's ANNBORDELEAU.com. And so under the self-care tab, you can go and get that access to that mini training. You just sign up your first name, last name, email, and then you can download. It's called 3 Steps to Putting Yourself First.
Oh, great.
And so it's about changing that mindset.
Perfect. So I think you'll all enjoy that.
Yeah.
So before we leave, though, I have one quick question.
Okay.
Do you work with ancestral things that are going on with people?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
That's just-
I actually, I'm going through my own detox right now from past lives.
Yeah.
So you may have noticed, like around my so this is something that's kind of like recent, within like the last week, and it's detoxing. And so in one of my past lives, I know that I lived in London and I was beheaded. So I went to London a couple years ago, and one of the things that I needed to do while I was there was to spiritually reattach my head to my body. And now with this whole transition and expansion into Sedona, now my body is detoxing, and it's prepping me for what's to come.
Oh, great.
So.
Well, it's been such a pleasure talking with you today.
This has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming down to the Health and Wellness Hour for us, too, because we're all about health and wellness and learning all of the different modalities that are out there and things that are available to people, just creating that awareness.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thanks
you
for
bet.
having me.
You bet.
It's been
Thank
a pleasure. Yes, I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger.
Me too.
Oh, but we have to do the heart-to-heart one. Do you know that one?
No.
Okay, so your heart, and this is good for everybody to know. So your heart is here on your left side. So when you go to hug somebody, you typically go to over the right, but you go to heart to heart, left to left, and then that way there's that exchange of energy
good to
between
know.
the hearts.
Great,
So
great information.
yes, it's a fun thing to show your kids too.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.